Hello, it's Uncommon Fossil here, and I've been playing Magic the Gathering Arena for a couple weeks now. And I thought I'd put together a video here talking about Arena and my experience with that and how that compares to Pokemon, both Pokemon PTCG Online and live. Any apologies at the beginning for terminology misuses. I'm still very much learning Magic, both how to play it and the different ways it works. So I may use the wrong terminology at times, but apologies. But I think the ideas will be communicated properly. So I think it's clear just from looking at this screen that Magic Arena is more developed than Pokemon, both PTCGO and live. But that makes sense, right? Arena's been out since 2019, so it's more developed. I don't think that Pokemon's ever going to get quite as developed as Magic. Magic is, I think, pretty heavily monetized. I don't think Pokemon's going to monetize live to that extent, if they even monetize at all. And therefore, if it's not being monetized, they're going to spend less money on development and the servers and all that. It just follows from that. But hopefully, I think there are things in Arena that hopefully will get added to live, because there's definitely some positives to it I'm seeing. So within it, when you start off, the starter decks, which is where everybody begins, you get 5 mono color decks, blue, black, red, white, and green. You work through each of those 5 decks first. That's what you're required to do. It's the way they kind of teach you the game as a new user. You play up against a bot for 4 games. And then the 5th game, you have to play against a human player online. You don't have to beat that human player to progress, but you have to at least play against a human player just for that experience. After you finish those 5 decks with the 5 games in those, then you begin unlocking these dual type decks with 2 different color lands, and there's 10 decks of those in all. I'm still really working through these 10 decks, getting to know them. They introduce a lot of the different mechanics in live. And, if you're a Pokemon player and someone was new to Pokemon, even after 2 weeks, their understanding of Pokemon is not going to be that great. And that's where I am in Magic, learning a lot. And I got to say, I am enjoying it. So there's a lot to learn. And I'm just thrown into the midst of that now. In terms of the starter decks, obviously, the starter decks in PTCGO aren't really viable decks, and you've got to replace those with some other decks as quickly as possible. The starter decks in live are probably more comparable with what Arena is giving to the new user. In terms of gameplay, I want to jump to that. There's a number of options for gameplay in Arena, more that are in Pokemon, probably more ways than Pokemon's ever going to have. But I hope Pokemon will expand the number of ways you can play, because this is one of the things that I'm liking about Arena, the different ways you can play. As a new player, you're just going to come to this play tab, which is really the casual mode, and that's where you're going to come up against players that aren't quite as experienced, probably in decks that aren't quite as good, but that's what you got to be up against as a new player as you figure things out what to do. So there's standard play, like in Pokemon, where about the last 2 years of expansions are available. Alchemy, which is an interesting thing, it's standard plus some cards are a little bit old in that, plus some digital cards as well. They are creating some digital cards now in Arena as well to help gameplay and balance and make things a little fairer within that, so that's an interesting development. You can still play standard to copy the IRL world, but you have the option of Alchemy with some digital modifications as well. You have Historic, which is any card ever printed, and Explorer, which is Historic plus the digital cards in Alchemy, and then bot matches if you want to test something out. Then you have ranked mode, which has the 4 main game modes again, where you can move up your ranking, which you'll get some rewards for that. At this point, I haven't played a lot of ranked games because my decks aren't that good, and quite frankly, my play is not that good. I'm still trying to understand all the mechanics of Magic, which I think is reasonable after only having played for a couple weeks. They also have Brawl format, Historic, and Standard again, and Brawl is a singleton format, so that's quite nice. It's similar to the Commander format, but Commander format's a 100-card deck. Here it's not a 100-card deck, so it's not the same as Commander, if you're familiar with that, but it's similar to that. It's a singleton, so that's a nice option to have also. And as a new player, sometimes Brawl decks can become more affordable too, because you only need one copy of cards, so it makes it a little cheaper. They also have a lot of different events in Arena you can play. Now, you have to use your resources, your gold, or your gems within it. There's a couple different formats. You can play standard events and such within here, or historic. So if you wanted to do a standard event, you have to play 2,500 gold to enter, or gems. Normally, if you're a free-to-play person, you're going to play the coins, and then you're going to earn gems from your victories. We'll talk about the economy in a little bit. But for a new player, standard events aren't a good thing. But they have something which is fun, and I've done a little of, and they have quick drafts. The sets you're drafting from vary. This is from the Dominaria United, which is not the most recent set, but it's still, it's standard legal, I'm pretty certain, and it rotates occasionally which set you're drafting from. And within these quick drafts, you build a 40-card deck. You're drafting, it might be 45 cards ultimately. You're choosing from 3 15-card decks when all's said and done, essentially. And within these quick drafts, you're drafting against bots for the draft part, not against human players. But you're going to play against human players once you actually start the gameplay. But the bot draft allows you then to take your time, which is particularly useful as a new player, to really read through the cards, try to understand. You see this pack of 15 cards, and you don't really know what most of them do. You want to be able to take your time, read them through. So a bot draft is a great way to do that. There's no timer. You don't feel pressured to hurry up. So it's a good way to build up your card collection, because the cards from the draft you get to keep. And as you win games, you also get rewards. It costs you either $750 in gems or 5,000 gold. As a budget player, you're going to be spending the gold, because you get gold as rewards within the game, but getting gems is harder to do. The primary way to get gems is to pay real money to get it, but you do get gems as rewards within these events, and so you're going to want to do that. You're going to get some cards, and then you get some gems, which we'll see are important. In terms of crafting cards, let me jump over to that briefly. They have wild cards within Magic Arena, which is different than both PTCGO and Live. Similar to the crafting system, but a little different. There's 4 types of rarity: common, uncommon, rare, and mythic rare. And within these wild cards, a uncommon wild card can be turned into any uncommon card. So they're very valuable, similar to the credits within the crafting system, but you're restricted with your uncommon wild card to only draft an uncommon wild card. You can't draft a common if you wanted to. You can't take multiple uncommon cards and convert it into a rare card. You're restricted to the rarity which it is, but not an unreasonable system, I don't think. Certainly, we'll get to know that more soon. Another thing that's important is the passes, the Mastery Pass. So there's the basic pass, which is free to everyone, and the Mastery Pass, which gets you a higher level of rewards that you have to pay for, and you can only get that with crystals. And the primary way to get crystals is by paying actual money or winning the events, like I said. So we have challenges. I skipped over that. My apologies. So challenges like casting so many spells of a certain color, winning games and such, and you get gold for that and experience points. So you build up a couple, 1,000, 2,000 gold each day. So that's not terrible, and you're getting these experience points which step you up on the mastery pass. And if you hopefully you get high enough in the tiers and you get the crystals to unlock the mastery pass, which is the second tier, the second level, with higher rewards, you get a lot more rewards. And that's something I think is a budget player you really want to try to prioritize. And then the other thing is the store. How's it work? It's certainly monetized. As we'll see, you can actually spend actual money to get things, such as this. You can buy wild cards for cash dollars. Which is not, you can't, which then of course those wild cards become any card you want of that rarity. So that's something you can't do in Pokemon. And and then gems, as I said, you can pay cash for gems, 20,000 gems for $100. But if you're someone that's paying money to play Pokemon online, you could spend money also in Arena within Magic, but it's still but Magic's also accessible, I think, for free-to-play people and budget people. I think it's reasonable. You can take your coins, which you get a decent number of coins free. You earn those each day, and you can buy packs for that. So the economy, I think, is reasonable for budget players. I'm still new and learning things, so not entirely certain of that. But I think as a budget player, you can make decent progress in the game. Another thing to mention is there's add-on trackers available in Magic that aren't in Pokemon, because there's a log in the game that's generated, and these trackers then allow you to track your collection through this second, third-party software, or even things like it can track your win rate for your different decks you have. So that is quite useful, I think, as an option. So that's kind of the conclusion of where I'm at. I've been enjoying Magic the last couple weeks here. Keep doing it some in the future. How much I do it going forward, I'm not sure. As a free-to-play person, time is really the resource that gets spent, and splitting that between multiple games is not efficient. So eventually, I think I'll have to decide between Pokemon and Magic, which I'm going to do. Not sure there, but enjoying learning Magic for sure. It's fun learning something new. There's just lots to learn on a daily basis. So this has been a video from a Pokemon player that's new to Magic, with just kind of what I've seen in Arena. Hopefully you found it useful. If you're a Magic player and came to this video and would like to learn more about Pokemon, as someone that might be thinking about trying out Pokemon as a new player, just comment below and I could do some videos focused on that. Take care.